to the Villa for the podcast here with my good friend Dan Wiseman. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, how are you?
Good, I'm good. It's nice to do a positive podcast.
Finally,
for the first time in a while.
finally.
You know, since the podcast has returned, it's been a bit
Yeah,
doom and gloom, trying to be optimistic.
We've been doing our best, but finally we can have a bit of optimism with good reason as well,
Yeah.
which is unusual.
I think the perfect place to start is obviously that 4-0 win over Derby County. Going into the game, Jack Grealish being made captain. I know we spoke a bit before the game. Excitement, a bit of confusion maybe. I know my dad didn't seem that up for it, but I think he did after Grealish had that third one in.
Yeah, it was great to see. I think just above all else, I think the whole romance of it all just galvanised everyone, and you could feel it. The team just seems so much more confident when Jack's on the pitch. Like, we seem to be so much more purposeful in our attacks. The ball was flowing so much more because in the recent games, the passing, it seems so forced. That building up attack with any momentum feels so laborious. But Jack came back and it was free flowing, and it was so good to see. And it really felt like exactly how it was before Jack got injured. Really, it was seamless. And the effect that he had on the squad, and I think giving him the captain's armband helped that a lot, to be honest with you.
After the game, Dean Smith said that it's been coming. You could argue with how poor we've been. It's quite unexpected. I do think there were signs of it though after the Stoke game. I thought we came out after that after the first half with a real point to prove, and there was a lot of intent in the performance. And I think Smith said that he told them all a few home truths, and miraculously, goes from being the nice guy and not getting what he wants to maybe perhaps playing the villain.
Well, it's what it takes, isn't it? Sometimes, because we heard that there was all that talk of there being a big power ranking. Everyone there was apparently a few groups of players that were refusing supposedly to get on board with Smith's ideas. And I don't know quite whether the Derby game and the second half of the Stoke game put those to bed, but there was certainly an improvement in the performances, and I think with the egos and stuff like that we've got in the dressing room and the big wages, I think it can sometimes take a more authoritative figure to put his foot down, because Dean is a nice guy and he's quite mild-mannered in a lot of his ways, isn't he? But I think he certainly got that side to him, and I think it certainly had an effect.
Definitely, and going 1-0 up so early, an unlikely culprit with the goal in Conor Horan, someone who I've openly slated a lot.
Yeah, we don't disagree on much, but Conor Horan is one of the things that there is a bit of it was an unlikely source, wasn't it, for the first goal?
I mean, the ball played from Grealish, was it, for the first one?
Yeah, fantastic. Fantastic.
Where Tammy tries to loft. Was that the first goal?
Yeah, it was where he tried to
I have
stop,
done my
wasn't
research. I was there, I promise. I mean, without Jack, the ball doesn't make it to Tammy.
No.
When people, I think the thing that I know we're supposed to be talking about Horan, I'm going off talking about Grealish again. When people say that they don't rate Jack Grealish, and there was a thread made by a Leeds fan the other day. Yeah, with his goal and assist contributions. If there were primary assist statistics, secondary assist statistics, were a thing, he'd be top of the charts.
Yeah, mate.
Because who picks out Tammy with a ball like that without Jack being on the pitch?
It's I remember, because the thing is the way I view Jack Grealish, and I've said this for a while, is that when I was in the Premier League, when I was in the Premier League, single-handedly, when Villa were in the Premier League, I should say, I didn't watch the Championship much. I had very little interest. I was obviously quite young, and I think that had an effect on it, but I'd never really watched the Championship. And I think for those fans that are in the Premier League, or other really Championship teams that don't watch a lot of Villa, if you're basing what you think of Jack Grealish on the player that he was, the kind of scrawny little player that was in the Premier League, then I can completely understand why people say he's overhyped. But he's a completely different player now. He's so intelligent. He picks up and he carries the weight of that team on his shoulders single-handedly. The relationship that he seems to have on the pitch with players like Tammy is telepathic at times. That ball I didn't even see was on until he played it, when he put it over the top. Absolutely fantastic, and I'm so happy that he's back, mate, because the game, I'm sure we'll cover it in a bit, but the game next week has gone from being something I've been absolutely dreading to something that I now can't wait for.
Yeah, and as I say, fantastic ball. got to credit Hourihane for being up there though as well. I feel like when Grealish plays, there's such a freedom for everyone else because he really does take the weight all on his shoulders in terms of attacking and defending. As it's a bit of a misconception that Jack Grealish is a number 10. He's a 6 really.
Yeah, he is essentially.
Because he goes and does that defensive work that Hourihane doesn't do. And to give Hourihane credit again, I think that's the furthest he's pressed in weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's the kind of thing that we should be expecting.
I think it's with Connor, and I think it's always been that. It's just been a matter of work rate, isn't it? I think his technical ability is there. Yeah, I think it's been but he's never had that work rate. He's never had the desire to go and press the defence, to work hard, and do what Jack does, where he'll go and battle for the ball, shoulder to shoulder with the opposition. And he doesn't have that physicality to him, and we saw it a little bit more. But again, I think that's just because there was that galvanised squad, and everyone seemed far more up for it. And there was just Villa Park was a good place to be.
Yeah, it really was, and someone who again has received plenty of criticism. I think we've stuck up for him on the podcast quite a bit. Glenn Whelan, the pass that instigated the counter attack for the second goal. No one would have expected Glenn Whelan to make that, and I don't think he's getting enough credit for it. It's an exquisite ball that he plays to Hourihane, I believe it was.
Yeah, as he says, one else to win.
Yeah, again, fantastic ball from Hourihane as well. Mate, pinpoint accuracy,
wow.
Isn't it? And Tammy's going to be there. You put that ball in 9 times out of 10, and Tammy's going to be there. But this is the passing game that we're seeing. That Soccer AM would post the highlights of Brentford of. This is the kind of thing that we're really starting to see, and that what we did see when we went on that initial run of Derby, Borough, under Smith, obviously before Jack Grealish got injured. It's as if he makes everyone better. And again, shout out to Glenn. What a bloke.
Top guy.
His wife's been getting a bit of stick on Twitter.
I have to say,
he's completely unwarranted in it.
I have to say, when we signed Glenn Whelan, I think I speak for a lot of other fans, and I think I might have said this before on the podcast actually, it was a bit like oh my god,
it's Glenn Whelan.
This is what it's come to.
Yeah.
We've gone from taking AC Milan's star centre back Martin Larsson and sending players like Melberg to Juventus to bringing in Glenn Whelan. This is rock bottom, and I think that's why he's had a tough time. Getting the fans on side, because he's one of those signings that, with no disrespect to Glenn, I can't imagine he's watching. But if he is, I'm really sorry, Glenn. But you don't want your club to sign a player like Glenn Whelan, do you? Unfortunately. No. But he's coming and he's really doing the business. He that ball is fantastic, and I think, because he hasn't got a Spanish surname and he's not, he's not perhaps the most not the most attractive signing. He's been tough, but no, he's putting in some real good performances, and it's taken him a while. But I'm glad that people are finally starting to appreciate Glenn.
Yeah, he deserves all the credit. I think everyone who started their game, even Steer, I know he didn't have a lot to do. Fantastic, and in terms of El Mohammadi's ball in, as we've said, fantastic. Does Alan Hutton put that ball in?
I don't think I don't even think El Mohammadi puts that ball in. I don't even know where that came from, to be honest with you. I was putting, because I had the needle, and he needed to get just the right spin, to get it past the players and then into Tammy's path. Honestly, you couldn't have done it better. I would have put every single bit of money that I had in him leaning back too much and putting that straight over the crossbar. But no, fantastic ball. But again, it's that confidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
You give the squad that boost, the players to go on and try something like that, because I think in previous games when Villa Park's been a bit hostile, perhaps he takes the touch there, tries to run it to the byline and cut it back. But no, it's fantastic, and to take it in the manner that he did was good to see. And it's good to see the players playing with that confidence again, isn't it?
And I believe the initial ball for Hourihane's second goal came from him winning the ball.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah.
Ashley Cole was shocking, and we spoke briefly before. He didn't even realise Ashley Cole was playing. You'd have thought Ashley Cole versus El Mohammadi would it sounds like a battle that's already been decided on paper, but
no, the Derby team was a strange one though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was a strange. I was looking at the lineup.
No Harry Wilson starting.
It was peculiar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was sort of like a cup game. Their lineup, that sort of been fit for a third. FA Cup tie or something. It was far from a full strength team, and I know that Villa hadn't been up to much, but Derby had done their research. They didn't know Jack was coming back, and obviously I'm sure they did. But it was to put up a squad like that. It was always asking for trouble, I suppose.
Yeah. Talking about doing your research, obviously Lampard, after the Bielsa Gate issue, comes out firing and says, "Oh, this isn't special. This is something we all do." Well, it's been a bit of a trend recently in teams that have played Villa. They've not done the research because Courtney fucking House has absolutely dominated in that left back position. Yet teams still insist to play long balls there. I'm sorry, but your 6'3" right back is not going to lose a duel, and he didn't lose a duel.
I have to say, Courtney House has really surprised me because he came in and I thought, there's another pointless signing. A loan deal, because at the time I didn't think he was calibre to play in the first team. I thought the centre back was, it's going to be hard to get in there. I thought, I don't really see what this, in a loan deal as well. I was like, I don't really see where this signing is going. But then we started playing at left back, and you look at his physique.
You don't think he's a left back?
I thought this was just another Axel Tuanzebe. I thought we were playing him at left back, and he was never going to. Sort of when Axel was never fitting in at right back under Bruce, and I thought, we're playing him in the wrong position. Oh, here we go. Wow, I've been surprised, man.
Yeah.
What a beast. Wins everything, mate. Absolutely everything.
Can fizz a ball as well.
Yeah, great technically as well for a big lad. Really, really happy. Really hope we get him on a permanent deal, because that's the kind of calibre player and the type of player that I think we need to be signing. There's some of these young players that can't quite fit in at the big clubs, or if you're purchasing, getting them from clubs lower down, just young players who have the intent, that want to play football and that are happy to be at a club like Villa. And he can play every single week for what I can. I absolutely love him.
So Tommy Elphick, obviously coming off injured, in his prime form at the moment, in a position where the defence has looked relatively solid over the past few weeks. It's a big blow.
Very unfortunate. It's what we've been crying out for. It's just a kind of defensive solidarity, because everything starts from the defence, especially when you're playing Dean Smith's brand of football. You've got to be both solid going forward and defensively. And I felt like it was really lacking. And I feel, in Dean Smith's system, the defence has to be the first thing that you sort out, because you can't build from there if it's, you haven't got confidence, and you certainly can't. Obviously, its primary function is to defend. And it's been a while, it's been a long time coming, and we've tried a lot of combinations. I feel like Mings and Elphick have really nailed it. It's a shame, but Axel's going to be coming back, and I'm really, really excited to see that. Really excited to see that.
A back four of El Mohammadi, Tuanzebe, Mings and House is just...
It's imperious, mate.
No, you'd think no one's getting through
magisterial.
Yeah,
is the word, mate. That is, it's
with Jed steering.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have to say to Jed, he's I really like that he's been the choice. I feel like it's a definite nod to Mark Bunn that his time is well and truly done. And I think we've obviously known that for a while, but that's very much the final nail in Mark Bunn's coffin, I should imagine. Jed's been doing great. He's come in, obviously. I know Kalinic hasn't quite hit the levels that he perhaps hoped. There's been a few times where I personally wouldn't blame him for goals, but I know fans have been getting on his back and stuff. Blame him for a few goals here and there.
Same with Nyland, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Jed's done well.
I do find it quite funny that Villa have spent the best part of £10 million over 2 transfer windows on goalkeepers who fans seem to be pretty certain they don't rate, and our first choice keeper is now someone who we've signed 7 years ago from Norwich for peanuts. That's just Aston Villa. So
in a nutshell.
It's shocking, and I'm made up for Jed. I really am. And hearing when he got the call, he didn't actually want to come back because he'd been messed about that much, and you can understand why.
You can't blame him. There's so many players that I think fans are easy to criticise and stuff, but you've got to understand, as Villa fans, it's easy to say, oh, everyone should want to play for Aston Villa, but these people aren't Villa fans. They have no true affiliation. The club has really messed around and really damaged some careers in the past. I thought we should also make congratulations to Carlos Hill. scored his first goal in the MLS.
Montreal.
The other day, yeah. Doing well. So there's another player.
Managed by Remy Gard, aren't they?
Yeah. Are they actually?
I think.
Wow, that's a nightmare.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, he could get in the team, could he?
Villa truly scored in some careers over the past. Carlos Hill now scoring in the MLS is a perfect example of that. And I'm really happy for Jed because I feel like he's come back in and he's nailed that, and it's a good opportunity for him now. Kalinic is out to really put in some performances and work for something bigger in the future.
You just got to look at the Carling Cup final, Carabao Cup, sorry. The whole situation with Kepa and Caballero, and how damaging it can, like psychologically, it can be for a backup keeper. I tweeted about. I think Talksport posted something saying that Caballero was sulking, and I was like, no, he's not sulking. He's been told to go on. You would be gutted, and I think there's not enough consideration towards the mental health of players at times.
Being a goalkeeper,
especially a goalkeeper.
Yeah, being a goalkeeper is psychologically a tough position to deal with at the best of times. But being a backup goalkeeper is an extremely strange scenario, because there isn't that. It's not easily. It's not as easy, is it, to break into a team? Obviously, if you've got two strikers that are competing, they're quite interchangeable. But goalkeepers, it's very rare that you see that kind of switch. It's not like game in, game out. Managers will be switching their goalkeepers.
Unless you're Dean Smith.
Unless you're Dean Smith, of course. And yeah, it's nice because you stepped up to the plate. Probably not everyone's first choice to go in between the sticks, but he's been doing it well. So.
I think it's fair to say we can't be surprised at
how
how solid he's been. I know we're talking about sort of the mistreatment by the club, and obviously Bruce sending him off after a fantastic start to the season, but injuries have played a big part in that as well. Again, something that will affect him psychologically. It's always going to be on the back of his mind. I think he did his ACL a couple of times, which that's career ending.
Especially for a keeper.
Yeah. But he's still relatively young, at 26.
Yeah, it's for a goalkeeper. He's got another 10 years in, and they can play.
Easily, yeah.
Kind of 9 to the late 30s.
So it'd be interesting to see how. I think he'll feature to the end of the season. I saw that I think Nyland was doing an update on his Instagram story. He's had surgery and stuff. So again, one you feel sorry for. I know you're an Ireland fan.
Yeah,
hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? And Cali has come in and it's been
I think
about as good as Oyan has been.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think Oyan was. I feel sympathy for goalkeepers, especially when at the time the defence was stuttering and failing. I don't really feel like we ever saw the best of Oyan in Ireland. It's tough to come at the best of times. How many goalkeepers have we seen come to the English game and struggle at first? I mean, I remember citing David De Gea at the time, and I'm not saying for a second he's got the potential to go on and reach David De Gea, but he couldn't catch a cold in his first 2 seasons at United. And look what he turns into. It's an extremely tough game to adapt to, coming from abroad to play in England. So I think Oyan got a bad rep, but it's tough being a goalkeeper, especially for a club like Aston Villa. So Jed's doing it well.
He's doing a good job. Talk about Blues.
I saw the financial reports as well.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, that's
lost $1 million a week.
Hemorrhaging money.
But I saw Wolves did as well.
Yeah, I think they had a wage bill of something like 45 million. Ours is 75 though, isn't it? 75 million.
That's ludicrous, mate.
On the tea lady.
Who are we paying that to? Where's that going?
Well, I think one thing Dave tweeted was there'd been cuts of 200 people, 200 staff had lost their jobs, yet the wages still went up on employees. Obviously that includes the players. But it's ridiculous. That's so much money.
You can't almost believe it, can you?
Edens and Suarez have put 70 million in the club just to keep us afloat. That's crazy, and if they still seem pretty confident that we're not preaching FFP in any way, but
I saw that they're confident of getting through to the end of the season, aren't they? I wonder, but I mean, it's going to be.
Well, the thing is, if there's a lot of talk of a points deduction, but if we somehow get promoted, doesn't apply. EFL rules don't apply in the Premier League.
Well, that's
dream.
That's the way of doing it, isn't it? Bournemouth did it that way, didn't they? Just fucking, shout your way up to the Premier League and then deal with the consequences afterwards.
Well, when would you rather have a points deduction? Because now, as we stand, 12 points takes us 1 point above the relegation zone. Minus 12 points does. But starting next season in a year where really we should be going up on minus 12 points. That would be a remarkable,
that would have to be some story.
To make up, you're essentially four losses in already, and I think when teams get promoted, they don't lose any more than 10 games, do they?
No.
That doesn't leave you a lot of room to slip up.
I don't know, if there's one thing we've learned being Aston Villa fans is that we need leeway.
Yeah.
There are going to be slip-ups along the way, most definitely. So you kind of hoped it, but I think this is what, I think there's a trend, isn't there, starting to emerge of, teams getting up through the Championship of kind of, the FFP and just getting to the Premier League, and then whatever happens. And that's the way it worked for Wolves, they just do everything at it, everything, they were saying, the whole Mendes approach is just, it reflects that kind of gung-ho attitude they had to the Championship. If you remember Andre Silva, 50 million in January.
He's some player as well.
That is ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. I mean, the fact that you turn on, you watch Wolves, and you've been watching João Moutinho and Rui Patricio play for Wolverhampton Wanderers, blows my mind. Blows my mind.
But Patricio's only there because the sporting fans rocked up to a training session.
They smashed him all out. They smashed him.
Terminated his contract, didn't they? And I think they were trying to claim
There was a few players that left after that, wasn't there? Gelson Martins as well when he went to Atletico.
Don't blame him, they do.
Yeah, you can't blame him. William Carvalho as well.
Yeah,
going to Betis.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That was a weird move in itself.
Yeah,
imagine there would have been bigger clubs in for William Carvalho.
Arsenal have been linked for the past 6 years.
He's a great player.
Yeah,
great player. It seems weird that but I think
no disrespect to Betis.
No, absolutely not to Wolves. Because I'm an Aston Villa fan first and foremost, but I'm not biased enough to say that you have to admire what Wolves have done, because they're going for the top 6.
Yeah.
There's no there's no shortage of confidence at Molineux at the moment, mate. I saw they were looking at João Felix as well, who's been absolutely ripping it up at Benfica. Yeah. If they get players of that calibre, mate, you've got to watch out, because what's to stop them? They've got everything going in their favour.
I mean, talking about the sort of gung-ho approach, they had a sense of direction, whereas you look at, you think we'd brought in football people in Boyness and Round, Bruce. Shocking. It's so shocking. And
there's no vision there, was there? There's no vision there. It was a kind of you always felt that it was a kind of what's the Premier League was we'll cross that bridge when we come to it sort of thing, that we'll deal with the Premier League and the kind of vision of the club once we got there. Whereas with Wolves, there's you can see a kind of 5 to 10 year plan, can't you, of where they're trying to take the club, the players that they're trying to attract. And the biggest problem for Wolves is going to be whether they can keep hold of those players, once they do develop Hotters and players like that, once they get up to that, can they stop players leaving for United or whoever, going back to Portugal or whatever, it's whether they can keep that. But we didn't have that vision last season that Wolves did, and I think it's coming true, because I don't think I've ever seen as good a promoted team as Wolves.
You think?
They're the one thing that's very inconsistent. Very they lost to Huddersfield the other week, and you can give it. But I mean, in terms of the way that they play against the big teams and some of the results that they've had against the big teams this year, I think it's been a long time since I've seen a newly promoted team come up and play with the confidence that Wolves have. But I'm very, very envious of Wolves at the moment. They're in this.
Got to say fair play to them, mate.
Yeah, that's what I mean, mate. That's what I mean.
I'm a Villa manager.
That's what I mean. I'm a Villa fan, mate, through and through. I'm not for a minute. I like video myself at Warzone, but mate, you've got there comes a time in football where you've got to put rivalries aside and say, you know what,
take your hats off,
fair play, because you've done that well. And that's what you've got to do. I mean, wouldn't every Villa fan love to be in Wolves' position?
Of course.
The sky's the limit for that club.
Yeah.
It really is, because, you know, if you've got to look at clubs like Burnley getting into the Europa League last season.
Weekend before.
Yeah, well, what's stopping? There's nothing to stop Wolves going for it.
A Europa League campaign would be very successful for a club like them as well.
Absolutely,
so
it's perfect.
Financially, it makes sense, more so than a Chelsea or an Arsenal.
Because they're not going to get relegated. They're not quite of that status to truly go and push the top sides yet. So, you know, if they can get ourselves a couple of Europa League qualifying stages, it's perfect for them, isn't it?
I think they've got better results against the top 6 than Arsenal do, though.
Yeah, mate. I mean, what is it? Oh, they've beaten Liverpool this season, drew with City at home, beat United. I think they beat Arsenal as well.
Lost to Chelsea.
But I mean, in the scheme of things,
you take that.
They beat Spurs at Wembley as well. Didn't
Yeah,
they? Beat Spurs at Wembley. Crazy, but lose to Huddersfield at home
twice. Coming into the derby, more confident now after the 4-0, obviously. Blues obviously lost 2-0 as well to Hull. Alleged Villa fan, I don't know if this is true, Jared Bowen.
I saw that, didn't know that.
No, I've not heard that one until he just got up in Gardner's face, and now I think if anyone gets up in Gardner's face, you're a Villa fan.
I think you're a football fan.
Yeah.
I think you just like football.
Yeah. 2-0. I mean, Hull, Atkins has gone flying, hasn't he?
Crazy.
They're above us. I think they're above Blues as well. You know, very much in contention for that 6th place spot, which Blues and us are obviously going for. How are you feeling going into this game?
Very confident.
Yeah.
Very confident. It's always nice. Always nice, Blues away. My first ever contribution to Heart the Whole was a match preview for Blues away.
Wow.
There you are.
That's a bit of a throwback.
Yeah, there you are.
Was that the Gary Gardner?
I think so, yeah. It was that game.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, I think I'm really. It's bizarre, mate. I mentioned it earlier, but you asked me that question last week, and I'm dreading it. I was convinced we were going to get rolled over, because Villa coming up against a team like that before Jack's return, a team that inevitably would have wanted that game more than us. The Villa players would have been so scared of that, mate. The atmosphere, the fans on top of them. We all know what the atmosphere is like at St Andrews.
When they turn up,
it would have been a disaster, mate. A disaster. But now Jack Grealish is back, mate. I'm back to feeling like we can take anyone in the league. I am really looking forward to it.
He's never played at St Andrews as Jack. This will be his first game. I think he's been injured on all the times we've played away. He's going to be so important in this game. Another important thing as well is obviously loaning out Gary Gardner. He's been a revelation for them apparently. He won't be able to play, so I think in terms of the Blues, it's between David Davis and Kieftenbeld, which, listen, if you take what they say on WM, they don't want either. They'd rather have Gary Gardner.
I think the Blues...
the midfield battle is vital.
Form goes out the window in these games. They're going to kick lumps out of Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tactic because he, you know, very well known. If anything good is going to happen to Villa on that day, it's going to come through or directly involve Jack Grealish. So they're going to get straight from the get-go, take the lumps. Especially he's just come back from injury. It's going to be, it seems fairly obvious that they're going to go and try and kick him off the park. I can't imagine it's going to be anything particularly pretty from Blues. It never is. It's going to be a tough game, but mate, when we're playing like we did against Derby, the players are going to be right up for it. They're going to be like a lot more confident than they were after last week's. I'm really looking forward to it.
I think coming into this game, I think despite obviously Blues not coming in after losing to Hull, I think they'll come in quite confident still.
Definitely.
Because they went 1-0 up last time and they were in dreamland for 9 minutes.
8 minutes.
8 minutes. They were in dreamland for 8 minutes. So they, fine. I think it's the first time they scored at Villa Park for a decade. Which
you got to give it to them. It's a big day out for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you get fair play.
So we can hope that obviously I think the defence is a lot better. It'll be interesting with Mings and House at the back, because a few people were saying Mings didn't look that comfortable on the right side, and obviously he is a left-footed player. Nothing looked too out of the ordinary for me from where I was sat. A very solid player, and I don't think it'd be a derby without a crunching Tyrone Mings tackle.
I'm very excited for that, mate.
This could be a new thing.
All the compilations that he's been putting up on his Instagram and Twitter have ready for me.
Mate. I think people. There's obviously going to be fans of other teams that are commenting on them, being like, "Oh, he stamped on Oliveira and whatever." But Mings has been such a revelation. He really has, and it's the type of person he is as well.
Mate, I think, and I'm sorry to any of our younger listeners, but you need that level of bastardry in the team. I love that he's just hard as nails, will go through anyone. The Nelson Oliveira incident is very, very unfortunate.
Out of the blue.
But, mate, there is a player that has got eyes for the ball. He'll go through anything and anyone to get him. And in a derby, he's a perfect player to have, especially to come up against a team like Blues. It's going to be a long ball, it's going to be very intense, it's going to be very physical. He's the perfect player to deal with that. Perfect player, because he's not going to take any nonsense. Jukovic, Che Adams is obviously going to be, he's the danger man at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
I think they pretty much decided after the last game, well, I'm going to go for Elphick. Adam, it makes sense for Adams to go for Chester, because he's slower, and Jukovic to occupy the more physical battle with Tanzabi. It's a bit more difficult for him this time, because we've got two very fast central defenders in House and Elphick. House and Mings. Elphick's dead. He's just gone. Two very strong players as well, and Che Adams bowled it in front of the whole end, so he's gonna do it in front of the station road end or whatever you call it.
I don't even know
which one it is now.
It's
the Trillium Trophy Stadium, isn't it? So see if they get the bragging rights this time. If I'm honest, mate, as you said, like similar to you, I'm absolutely dreading it, thinking we couldn't go in even worse form. But it's typical for Villa to show up when it counts.
Funny old game of football, mate.
It is, mate. And saying this, Blues could absolutely roll us over.
Mate, I'm not going to be complacent. No. Because as I said, form goes out the window. Blues they're always up for it.
Jukovic, one of the top scorers this year. Che Adams almost got his move to the Premier League.
That's what I mean, man.
You can't underestimate them. But
it's similar. I'm a Villa fan, but I'm not. I'm not blind. I'm not biased. Blues they're a good team. They've clearly proved it this season. They're
putting a 2-point gap.
That's what I mean. They're really putting. They're really putting themselves at teams this year, and it's working for them. And you can't be complacent. You can't expect us just to go and roll them over. But the way that the two teams are playing, we are capable of playing football that Blues won't be able to touch. And I'm confident if that we manage the game correctly. We don't lose our heads, we keep our composure, we maintain our playing style, because I know in that environment it's quite tempting just to
compromise.
Knock it long and just kind of, obviously if Blues are playing that way, it's easier to respond in the same manner, but just to keep your head, maintain the composure, play our game, we can play them off the park.
Easily, and it's been a bit of a thing under Dean Smith, obviously, with his style of play that a lot of away games I've been to where we've had a lot of the ball, and some teams are happy to let us have a lot of the ball. I think Blues probably would be as well, because then they're more of an aggressive, out of possession, transitional counter-attacking side. I fit as many cliches in one.
That's good. You're really.
But I think they would be happy to let us have a fair bit of the ball, and
absolutely
to their detriment, really, because we are. Although we saw a fantastic counter-attacking goal from Whelan, Elmo and Tammy the other week, we've not honed those skills.
Well, it's not so that we are capable of playing in a variety of ways, that we still have that counter-attacking ability, because there isn't much place in this Villa side. On the break, there's the legs are pretty limited, but it's nice to know that we're capable of it. Shifting the ball quickly. We've got to make time. The quicker we move the ball, late challenges, there's going to be all sorts. If we get a couple of bookings on our side to crucial players, I think we can take this game. But it's a derby, as I said. Anything can happen on the day. We've seen it. I think there's going to be hopefully we get a game similar to the one that we got at Villa Park, because even from a neutral's perspective it was a great game.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see the abuse that Jack Grealish gets at St Andrews, because that's going to roll him right up, and I can't wait to see what he produces. But yeah, on all fronts it's exciting. Derby day is always going to be, inevitably I'm going to rewatch this podcast and I'm going to be thinking, a couple of days before the game, Jesus Christ,
I hope no one sees this.
I'm so scared. And I'm going to wake up on Derby day feeling like we can take on the world, but that's why we do what we do, I suppose, as a Villa fan. Emotional roller coaster, and we're definitely in for another one this weekend.
Talking about not knowing what to expect, been a lot of talk of John McGinn coming in at left back.
Oh really? Okay.
Mainly on Twitter, the most reliable source of news. Apparently, while since he's been suspended, obviously, for the past 2 weeks, allegedly, I can't remember, I saw this on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, so please don't quote me or Heart of the Holt on this, but he's been playing left back in training. And I also noticed in one of the pieces that the club put out the other day where they did the little interview with John McGinn, he was a left back for Hibs before he was a central midfielder. All the club was before Hibs.
That's interesting.
He's got the energy to play there. He's left footed, obviously. I think it's a big insult to Neil Taylor if you put John McGinn at left back personally. But these are decisions that have to be made.
Absolutely.
These are the big decisions that Smith gets paid to make.
That's what I mean. We had a nice guys manager the last time, and look how that turned out.
Yeah.
If, as you said, he's got the credentials, he's got the engine, he's got the physicality. Whether a game like Blues is perhaps the best inaugural game, if it was a different match, then perhaps but. I've got faith in Dean Smith. I've got faith. I think he's been picking the right lineup the last few weeks. The controversial calls. There was talks of Bakir, not to break your heart, but there was talks of Bakir maybe being reintroduced into the midfield. Before Jackson. I feel like the team selection the last few weeks has been spot on. So I feel like whatever the decision is, I've got confidence that Dean will make the right one.
Hopefully Burke is on the bench.
The propaganda's not finished.
It's not.
Just because he's not playing here. Don't think Dan's going to give up on this.
I've actually gained followers since I've not tweeted about him.
It's back. Warn your followers to hear the propaganda.
Yes, mate, of course. Burke is going nowhere, and I'm not either. And if Burke goes to Italy, I'm going to Italy. I will be there at Empoli.
Yeah, Empoli faithful, right?
Yeah, I'll be with the flags and the flares, cheering him on. I'm going to have to buy like an Empoli shirt if Burke goes.
That's an eventuality I'm not prepared for, mate. No. The breakdown that will inevitably ensue from yourself.
So to nicely end it off, we asked you guys on Twitter if you had any questions that you wanted asking, and overwhelmingly, like the previous video, there was none.
I'm going to treat that as a compliment that we cover all bases.
Oh yeah,
people just watch us and have no possible questions.
People just trust our opinions fully, and
we'll provide the answers.
We will. So instead, I decided to ask you guys a question. Obviously, with us being only 6 points behind Bristol City, with them still to come to Villa Park, is it possible that we can sneak into the playoffs? After Derby County, everyone in the stadium seemed to believe it, and a few people said no on Twitter. Which, come on, let us have our moment. I think it's possible.
Dan, optimism is always the best policy. I completely support that. I think why I was 100%, and honestly, the me from a few weeks ago is screaming inside as I say this. I was 100% guaranteed, no chance, not a slither, no way we're making the playoffs. But I know I think I'd watched 35 minutes of the first half against Derby, and I was turning to my brother and going, "We're going up."
Yeah,
we're going up.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of go, wait a second. But mate, when Jack's back, when Axel's back, we can beat anyone. That's the fact of the matter. We can lose to anyone, don't get me wrong. I'm going to put that one on there. We can lose to anyone, but we can beat anybody.
I think as well, the quality of the Championship this year, I think in terms of football has been some of the best it's ever seen.
Sublime, isn't it, mate?
But saying that, you compromise results with good football. And look at West Brom the other night against Leeds, 4-0. West Brom played some very good football. They cheated us twice, but they've been a very good footballing side. Leeds, again, people were talking a couple of weeks ago about Bielsa out. A very small minority, but how crazy. Look at the kind of football Derby's been playing, yet they've been hammered 7-0 on aggregate against us. And we find ourselves languishing in 11th.
Yeah.
It's still possible. I genuinely believe we could still go up, but I will stand by what I've always said, is that we're not ready.
No,
if we can sneak into top 6, I think, get into the playoffs, as long as it's not heartbreak at Wembley again. I don't mind if we go out in the quarterfinals, before Wembley, because it's all a learning experience. And although obviously in that situation, I'm not saying I want us to lose at all. I want Aston Villa to be in the best possible place. I just don't think that we're ready for it.
No,
but we can hope.
Losing at Wembley last season was a blessing in disguise, mate. I truly believe that, because as much as I wanted it on the day and as much as Tom Kearney's goal absolutely destroyed me, going up with Steve Bruce and Dr. Tony and in that regime and the financial troubles that then ensued, it would have been a car crash.
Yeah.
It really would. We've got to wait and until we've got the moment is right, we've got the right squad, and to go up and to make that step up, because the Premier League is not the end goal, mate. It doesn't all end there and it's going to be hunky-dory and we're going to be back in, pushing for the top 6 again. You're only halfway there. You've then got the real test, which is maintaining the Premier League status and pushing on, and unless you've got the vision, the right manager and the squad to do that, it won't happen, and you can end up being in a worse situation than you were before you went up.
Look at Fulham.
Exactly. And so you've got to really have it right, and I'd rather wait that extra season or 2 if it takes that, so we can have that seamless transition.
Yeah, the infrastructure needs to be right.
I'm going to say it, like Wolves have.
Yeah.
And when we've got those kind of calibre players, then we can go. But I'm not saying that we can't. I think there's every chance we can make that push through the playoffs. But whether I actually want it is a different matter.
Definitely. I think that's a nice note to end on, isn't it, mate?
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for listening. We will be back next week with another podcast, probably Thursday after the Forest game.
Yeah, makes sense.
We're both Blues and the Forest game. 2 away days very close to each other. Derby week, mate. It's Derby week.
Let's get excited.
Get excited, hopefully, yeah. So if you guys enjoyed it, comment your thoughts below, hit the like button, and make sure you subscribe, as we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the season. I think we're on 862, not that I'm checking. I think we can do it. We've got 11 games left, plenty more podcasting content from us guys to come. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and up the Villa.
Villa.